Yo, JR, they been waiting for you, dog. They been asking. You ready? You up, motherfucker? Dipset, let's go. Rider.
To all my hustlers, rock smugglers, strugglers, block bubblers, pushers, cookers, pop jugglers.
Exclusive reason, you know, tells all. JR Writer, assault. You know, the way the story goes, in my opinion, you know, I was called in to do press kit for all the artists at the local nightclub in Ajax, Rimrock. It was supposed to be a pretty good event. We had Slugs, we had Bishop in the building, we had Peter Jackson, big ups to you, man, you know what's up. And we had JR Writer, you know, our headline act. You know, everybody was in anticipation for this guy, and I was looking forward to see him. I rated him for a long time, you know, so it was kind of disappointing to what happened throughout the night. But the way it went was, I went up there to the VIP lounge the first time, introduced myself, brought the manager of the club to make him feel safe, because through the grapevine I heard that he's a very nervous guy. No disrespect, I understand, you know, everybody's trying to rob you, everybody's trying to kill you, do harm to you, but certain times there's a place for everything, you know. I'm pressed, you don't have to go that far. But like I said, I introduced myself to the guy, told him what I'm here for, told him I want to do an interview for the club. We're doing a DVD showcasing all the artists, and you know, since American artists are always in the headlight, you know, it was all about him that night.
B with a weed flip and the P's with the trees lit. So much water in the order, it's just leaving them seasick.
So because JR felt that he can just show up anytime, he came around 2 o'clock. As you know, clubs close 2:30, 3 o'clock, and there was a lot of police presence outside, pressing the club to close early. So he showed up promptly around 2 o'clock, whatnot, and all the other acts were very pissed off because, you know, you got to cut their act. You know, everybody's trying to promote themselves, everybody's trying to make a name for themselves, and it's kind of frustrating when you're trying to do something. At the end of the day, everybody's only focusing on these American acts. We're in Canada. Support your local artists for the last time. So he comes through, screws up everybody's act. You know how some Grammys get. They wanted to deal with his case that night. Completely not for me at all, you know, but they wanted to deal with his case that night. Not knowing this, I entered the VIP lounge, not knowing that. I was wondering why his set was so short. The man only did like 2 songs and then basically ran upstairs. And I was just like, okay, maybe he has places to go. Not thinking that this guy is nervous, you know, he just wants to leave or whatnot. I'm thinking this guy's a thug. What can really get somebody nervous, you know? But I guess he was nervous. So he took off upstairs. Me being a press guy, I tagged along with him, started talking to JR, thinking that, you know, I already introduced myself, like I said, you know, showed him my position, and at the present time, he was cool. He was like, yeah, let's just get this done, whatever. Then the entourage stepped in, without knowing anything, without even asking JR, without even consulting with anybody, grabs me, sends me back flying, grabs me by the collar and sends me back and calls me, get the fuck out of here, groupie. So I'm an artist, I run my own business, you know, I oversee many things in this hip-hop community, and you know, this is what I do for a living.
So how did you respond to that?
Well, like I said, you call me a groupie, and I'm fully not a groupie. I was really pissed. So I'm not really aware of what I said, but I know for a fact I was calling them out pretty hard. You know, I was like, you know, basically, shove it, you know, screw it, you know. You guys are freaking wasting my time. You know what I mean? You guys don't know how to act. You guys look like you guys have been stiff and crack, in my opinion, you know. And just for the fact that later on I hear that everybody wants to, like, beat this guy up around the whole city, makes me understand why this guy was so, his entourage is so nervous and on the tip of their toes. Well, I don't really want to speak too much on that, but JR Writer knows what he is, and I'm a man that studies psychology, so I know that, you know, in the game that you're in, you're going to be nervous. But yo, you're rapping to the ghetto. You're not rapping to suburban kids that may pick up your album or whatnot. You're speaking to us. And for you to be so nervous and so scared and let your entourage deal with your case, I do not rate you anymore.
Which crews are you affiliated with?
Dipset, Cameron, Jim Jones, you know, Freaky Zeke, you know, big ups to Freaky Zeke, you know, I know what's good with you, you know, freaking Santana, You know, I bumped heads with that guy too. You know, he's alright. You know, but for the most part, I can see why he's the back burner artist. You know, straight up, this guy's a shook one to me. You know, he's smoking weed all the time. All these thoughts are coming in his head. Everybody's saying he's gonna rob him. The man's walking down with like $1 million worth of jewelry, blinging. You know what I mean? But yo, if you're gonna be a thug, nothing should make you nervous, because you deal with it. And if anything comes your way, your dogs will be able to handle your business 10 times over. So you shouldn't be worried about anything in this life. Plus, you got money, man. Damn, ain't nothing should make you scared.
So what's some of the damages that you sustained?
Well, as you can see, I had a nose fracture. I'm not sure of the weapon that hit me, but it hit me on the side. My jaw was actually very injured. I wasn't able to eat for a while, you know. So the doctor said I'm alright, but you know, I shouldn't have to go through any of this just because I work in the hip hop community. You know what I mean? Like I said, JR, this is, you know, you should be able to like handle your entourage. They're making a bad name for you.
Do you have any hard feelings?
No, not at all.
Any intentions to get back at him?
Not at all. Not at all. Only thing I could say is, you know, one thing my father taught me is to get back at somebody to show them that you're successful. So one day me and you will have a show, and I would have to say, yo, man, I don't want to do that show with you, man. Straight up. I don't know who you roll with. I don't know if they're going to jump me again. I don't know if they got problems with me. And my people, man, you know, we don't play around like that, too. You don't go around slapping people you don't know, especially in 2007. It's not a joke no more, you know? Just like you know that. You ain't in no small-time arena, you know? You should put your people in check.
If there's one thing that you could say about JR Writer, what would you say?
If there's one thing I could say about JR Writer, well, the first experience with him, when I first showed him my place, he was a really cool guy. He seemed a little nervous, on his toes. Like I said, that was like the main thing that I focused on, because I've never really met somebody so nervous that's a rapper and raps about thug stuff, you know. If he's rapping about, you know, lollipops, and he's rapping about, you know, like licorice, I would understand that. But this man's rapping about guns, drugs, you know, flipping birds, you know what I mean? If you're in that lifestyle, what makes you nervous? You're in Ajax. You know what I mean? Like, what's making you so nervous? It's not even about where you're from, sorry. But it's just like, come on, man. You shouldn't even put that persona out there to nobody.
If the cops are coming, get the hop and running. Quick and drop that onion. Ain't no stopping, youngin'.
And you already know that, so I don't know what's wrong with you, man.
All right, Reason, we appreciate your interview. Thanks for telling us the truth about your incident with JR Writer. Is there anything you want to say to your fans or any of your homeboys?
Well, basically, I just want to give a shout out to the label. You know what it is. Break the Cycle, Hypno, The Future, 3MF. You know, and everybody I got their back and they got mine, they already know what it is. Big ups to You Don't Want to Be a Star. I already done proved it 10 times over, so you know, just stay up on me.